This is Hey Heart 143 with Natalie Tavidian. 143 means I love you. Together, we're learning to love ourselves and stay in love no matter what life throws at us. We are constantly evolving, changing, growing emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And we have to remember to check in with our own heart as we're propelled forward. When you love your own heart, you heal better, you do better, and you live a more fulfilled life. Hey guys, welcome to Hey Heart 143. This is Natalie Tavidian. This week's episode is a guest episode. I'm speaking with Kelsey Crystal. Kelsey is a clairvoyant, and she speaks with us about navigating through life's plot twists. How many times has something ever happened to you where it seems like a complete plot twist? Like you're on the road to one thing and then life throws you this crazy curveball and you got to go the other way. Change your route, change your destination, change everything. Just shakes you up to your core. So I speak with Kelsey about this huge life change that came to her in the form of disease. She developed toxic black mold symptoms and a plethora of other autoimmune issues. And she kept hitting a wall where she was living and had to move to find some experts in Texas and just starting from scratch. But what she did when she moved there is dig into her clairvoyant gifts and start this side business that's actually grown, and now she has clients all over the world. And she speaks with us about staying positive through all the mud that life throws at you. So I hope you enjoy this interview. And I have, before I go into it, I have your October to-do list. And this is all on Instagram and on heyheart143.com, on heyheart143, all the social media channels. But here is your October to-do list. So if you've been following up, I've been doing monthly to-do lists to practice self-love, things to do to practice self-love and bring more love into your heart for yourself. Number one, I have declutter, and I put this here because I need to be doing this. So declutter your home, your car, your office, your bedroom, everything. Just throw things away that just don't serve you. If you haven't heard of the Marie Kondo method, I suggest looking that up. She is all about keeping things that serve you and bring joy into your life. And this is something that I'm going to be practicing this month, is decluttering, cleaning, throwing things away, and just clearing space to let things in. In the meantime, I think that goes hand in hand with journaling. You guys know that I do a lot of writing and journaling. But lately, life has become overwhelming again. I think I've just piled on way too much. And it's okay. I'm taking a break from doing too much. So journaling is a great way to refrain from getting overwhelmed. I think when you put pen to paper and start writing about your life and everything that you're grateful for and things that you have to do, it kind of clears the path from feeling this feeling of overwhelm. Set boundaries. I had an entire episode on setting boundaries, so if you need to go back to that and read a little bit about setting boundaries, I have all that on the podcast and on heyheart143.com. Speak your truth. Again, I think this totally goes hand in hand with everything else on the October to-do list. Speak your truth. Don't hold things in. And get your sweat on. Whatever that means to you, whatever you need to do to just burn calories and get sweaty. Go do something you love. Kickboxing, gym, lifting, going for a walk, going for a run, sitting in a sauna, whatever you need to do. that's also very cleansing. So that's your October to-do list. And here is my interview with Kelsey Crystal. Kelsey, welcome to Hey Heart 143.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I love your energy. Like, the minute we connected on social media, I was like, we need to chat. And I'm so glad you reached out to me. So, Kelsey, you're from Virginia, now living in Texas. And Kelsey moved there for school and treatment. She started a side business that has turned into one of the best decisions she has made in life. Her side business ended up being her main business now, and a lot of her clients have become her friends. She's been featured in radio and magazines. Kelsey is a clairvoyant and a medium, helping people find clarity, peace, and purpose through her readings. So, Kelsey, how did you take me all the way back to what brought you to Texas?
Yeah, no, thank you. Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. So I am originally from Virginia, kind of like Virginia Beach type area. And I lived in the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. metro area for the past 6 years, all the way up until 2018. And then I moved here because I had become very, very sick from an apartment that I lived in there in Northern Virginia, D.C. area, from toxic black mold, actually. And I had become so sick to where I could no longer function. I could no longer work. I was diagnosed with like a myriad of autoimmune diseases and health issues. And it had gotten so bad to where I couldn't find any doctors that were willing to help me. I mean, I literally had exhausted all my options in the Northern Virginia area and DC. You know, I just literally, there were no doctors that could help me. They were like, we don't know what to do with you, because my symptoms were just crazy. Like my legs had become paralyzed at one point. My vertigo was so bad I couldn't move out of bed for weeks. I couldn't shower, nothing. I mean, literally, like, I had brain fog so bad I couldn't remember anything. I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't shower on my own. I couldn't do anything on my own because it had affected me that badly. And yeah, it was really bad. And
is this rare? Is it rare for this kind of medical condition, toxic? Like, how rare is this?
That's a really good question. Thank you. So here's the thing. When I was diagnosed with all this and found out it was from mold, I literally felt like I was the only person on the planet who was dealing with this. I was like, oh my God, like I'm literally the only person who's dealing with this. But actually I ended up joining like this toxic mold support group on Facebook and all this stuff. And I ended up finding so many people that were dealing with the same issue. It's a much larger issue than people realize because Western medicine, which is like your regular doctors, like your PCPs and, and whatnot, they are not trained to treat mold illness. It's just not a part of their curriculum. They don't learn that in med school. So they don't believe in it. They don't believe it's a real illness. But what they don't realize is 99% of the symptoms that they're treating on a daily basis or illnesses that they're treating on a daily basis are actually mold illness, and they don't even realize it because they weren't taught that in medical school. And, it's not their fault. It's just part of the curriculum. So it's really like the type of doctors that treat this are like your Eastern medicine, like your naturopathic type doctors, functional medicine doctors, holistic doctors, things like that. And, it is. So there's different, like, degrees at which people can get sick from this, because there's some people who carry this gene called the MTHFR gene, which I carry, and basically what that gene does is your body isn't able to detox toxins out of it when you carry this gene. So mold, for instance, is a toxin. It'll start to build up and make you very sick. So for me, that's why I get so sick every time I'm exposed to it. But other people, some people are fine around it. Some people don't get affected by it. Some people get affected, but not as badly as I do. So, but what's so interesting? There's a huge spiritual connection to this, huge, because little did I know when I was going through all that, I was actually in the midst of my spiritual awakening, and every single person that I met who gets affected by this mold stuff like I did, to the level at which I did, they're all highly, highly intuitive, just like I am, and they're highly empathic and empaths, just like I am. And for the listeners, an empath is anybody who's like very highly sensitive. We can feel energy from other people, usually have some type of like food sensitivities or sensitive skin, just a lot of sensitivities in general. It kind of varies for each empath, but, I just noticed, I started noticing this.
Digestive issues.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, totally, yeah. But I started noticing just this huge spiritual connection to everybody who was getting sick from mold at the level at which I did in these like mold support groups I was in on Facebook and stuff. And so really it's, to answer your question, is it rare? Yes and no. I mean, yes, to the degree of like how badly I get affected from it, it's very or more so rare, I guess you could say, but in general it's not, because I firmly believe everybody's dealing with some level of mold toxicity and they just don't know it because Western medicine isn't trained to treat it. So they're diagnosing people with things such as like allergies or things such as like, oh, you have rheumatoid arthritis or you have lupus or you have this and that, which I was diagnosed with all this as well. And really it's just an inflammatory condition due to buildup of toxins, which is usually mycotoxins from mold or from food and diet and just all that type of stuff. So yeah, but what really brought me to Texas was that, because school and that, but more so treatment, because there was no treatment center in Virginia or DC that could help me. In Texas, Dallas actually has one of the very few places in the entire United States that treats for mold toxicity. It's like a treatment center that treats for biotoxin illness, and biotoxin illness is heavy metal or mold toxicity illness. And so yeah, I came here, I moved here all on my own, not knowing anybody, about 9 months ago. Yeah, and I really did it to like save my own life, because I was like, if I stay here in Northern Virginia, I'm going to end up dying. Like my lungs would constantly collapse. I like literally just couldn't function anymore. And so driving all the way down here on my own while I was that sick was awful, so awful. But
and it was
yeah,
so bad at one point you couldn't even walk. Like that's how extreme Wow.
Oh yeah. I literally could not walk. My legs would not move. They were literally paralyzed. Literally, I'll never forget this. I remember it clear as day, like it was yesterday. I called my best friend and I was like, I literally like think I'm paralyzed for life. I was bawling my eyes out, crying in my living room. Could not move my legs, nothing, because it affects. If someone's as sensitive as I am, it affects your extremities. So it'll affect, like, you'll get a lot of like numbness and tingling in your hands, arms, legs, feet. So when I lived in that moldy apartment, I would constantly get that. Now that I moved out, I don't get it anymore. Sometimes I do my legs still, but, it's more so if my leg falls asleep from something. But I don't get it to the point of where I used to there. I mean, that was really, really bad. It was so terrifying. I mean, just, not being able to walk. It was almost like, I don't know, it's so hard to describe when I tell people this, because I always say, like, literally it's like I was telling my brain to move my legs literally would not move. And I just was like, I don't know what to do. Yeah. And so it was just so many different health symptoms. And I would say my main symptom I had was vertigo, which was so terrible. Oh my God. And, the not being able to walk, not being able to like just do a lot of things. It's just awful. So, but yeah.
What was this like to you emotionally, and how did you put yourself in that mindset of like, I'm gonna get better and not go into like a dark place like that? This is it. Like they're telling me that they can't do anything.
That's a really good question.
What was it like for you emotionally? Because this just seems so. It's so taxing, like emotionally, physically, all of it.
Yeah. It was really depressing emotionally. I'm not going to lie. I was very depressed for a very long time, because prior to getting sick, I was a dancer for 14 years. I had a personal trainer. I was in really good shape. And when all this happened, I lost all my muscle, everything. And I had to stop everything that I defined as beautiful back then, which was like my spray tan, my like 10 pounds of makeup, my like hair color, my nails, everything. I had to stop doing all that because I had gotten so sick to where I started reacting to not only mold, but to chemicals as well. And that's a common symptom of mold toxicity as well, is when you start reacting to chemicals out of nowhere. So I could no longer get my hair colored. I could no longer do my spray tans. I could no longer wear makeup. I could no longer get my nails done. And I used to be like super high maintenance, and that's all that I would do like every couple weeks, you know? So going from that to like, you know, not being able to have any of that done because it was making me physically sick and I literally could not be around it. I mean, even just the smell. I remember walking into certain stores and just like the smell of people's perfume around me, my eyes were turned bloodshot red. I would feel like I was going to pass out. I would have terrible brain fog. And people thought that I was drunk or high because I could not remember what I went in the store for and stuff like that. So emotionally, it was really taxing. It was really embarrassing, to be honest. And I hate to use that word, but it's the truth. I mean, I was so like I felt so vulnerable and so helpless and just so embarrassed for the longest time because I was like, you know, I just went from having it all to losing. I lost everything from that moldy apartment too, by the way. And so I was grieving the loss of everything that I had lost from 28 years. I literally walked away from that apartment with nothing besides the clothes on my back and my ID and my birth certificate, and that was it. And, you know, it was just emotionally, it was really draining. But I think for me, what helped me stay in good spirits was knowing that I could help people. And this really, like, I've always been a very passionate person in general about everything, and I won't do something unless I feel very strongly about it or very passionate about it. And I just started using my gifts to help people while I was this sick. Like, I would do readings for friends and stuff while I was this sick because
when
it
did
got
you
into that.
discover your gift? Was it all around this time, or had you always known that you are a clairvoyant and a medium?
So I started getting visions and things when I was 13. I started getting dreams when I was 7, 8 years old, and my dreams would play out like in real life how my dream was. And, you know, when you're a kid, you think that's normal. But then when I was 13, I got my very first vision ever. And the older I got and the more stuff I went through, the stronger my gifts became. And then when I went through all this mold stuff, my gifts got so strong. Like, they just blew open out of nowhere. And it was amazing, to be honest. So,
and can you describe exactly what a clairvoyant and medium is for people who might not know?
Yeah. So clairvoyant is basically a fancy word for psychic. So basically clairvoyant means that I get visions. So I get visions of past, present, and future. I'm also clairaudient, meaning I can hear messages. I'm clairsentient, meaning I can feel people's physical pain on my body. And I'm a medium, meaning that I can connect with deceased loved ones. And I actually did not know that I was a medium until January of this year, because I was doing a reading for someone, and all of a sudden, like mid-reading, their friend who had passed away came through out of nowhere, and I knew nothing about this person that I was reading. And ever since then, you know, every reading I've done since then, just people who passed away just come through now. So it was really cool. It's like the more readings I did, the more my gifts, the stronger my gifts became. So it was.
So
really
you
cool
moved to Texas, and you start your treatment, and then you decide you're also going to school, but you decide to start a side business.
Yeah. Because I literally was just like, you know, I was so passionate about helping people, and I knew I could help people through my gifts, and I also needed to find a way to make extra money and make extra money from home because, you know, I needed to make a flexible schedule for myself that worked around my school schedule and just around like everything in general, like if, you know, with my health stuff as well. And so I was like, you know, at first I just started out as a side thing because I honestly didn't know if it was going to go like full time. I really didn't know what was going to come of it at first. At first I just solely did it to help people. And I mean, I still do it to help people, of course, but I started out, you know, just doing free readings in exchange for testimonials like the first few months just to build my credibility. And I kept telling people, like, I'm going to make a business out of this. And I think everybody thought I was insane. And, yeah, but honestly, it was the best decision I've ever made because it's like far exceeded my expectations. I've been able to help so many people. I have clients all over the world in different countries. It's so cool.
Wow.
And I'm really proud of myself, and I'm really proud of my clients too, because it's hard to get readings done in general and hear a lot of stuff from your past. So I always thank them for showing up for themselves, but also to, like, you know, most importantly, I think a lot of my clients, they've been through a lot of the same health issues that I have. A lot of them have been through the mold stuff as well, or some type of serious autoimmune condition that really affected their health. And so I don't know, I just feel like they're like, it's almost like they're the support system that I never had. All my clients are. So it's really cool the way that it worked out. So I love it.
Does it feel like work to you? It's kind of like when you think about what to do that makes you happy, like, does it feel like work to you, or is it just, it's so natural that it's a part of your life?
It does feel like work, but it also doesn't. So like I don't know, it's hard to explain. So like, it's funny, I was talking to my friend about this on the phone earlier. I said, I pick up things from people randomly all day, every day without trying, like just going into like CVS, just going like anywhere. And, but it's different when I'm doing readings because I actually have to prepare. I have to make sure I like eat a full meal beforehand. I have to make sure I like fully meditate and ground, all those things. So I guess like with regard to having to prepare for the readings and stuff like that, it feels like work in that aspect. But then but anything other than that, it doesn't really feel like work. It's just because I know I'm helping people and it's truly what I love to do. And I think the most important thing is, when you truly love what you do, and if it doesn't really feel like a hassle or doesn't feel like too much of work, then you can really thrive in that. And I feel like that's when you can, really just shine your light, because it doesn't feel like work and it's just like you're kind of in the natural flow of things, if that makes sense. I think for me, I don't know, I'm so focused on like, helping more people and growing my business that I just stay really like in my lane and focused with that. So, and I'm also like a very type A perfectionist type person. So sometimes I like overwork myself and I forget to take breaks sometimes and things like that. So, but it's interesting because I did move here knowing absolutely nobody, no one at all, not a single soul. And so to, be featured on like radio and magazines in 9 months and not having any connections to do that and doing that solely based off how hard I worked and stuff was really refreshing and really, really, really cool to see.
How have the readings helped others? Because you say through the readings you help people find peace and purpose. How can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. So I think because I'm clairvoyant, as I mentioned earlier, I can see like past, present, future, but for some reason I always pick up more past, which I think is so cool and so helpful, because when I'm picking up all the things from the past, because I feel like so here's my theory. I personally think everybody's dealt with trauma on some level. I think that it's very kind of like the word trauma is very underdiagnosed and misdiagnosed and things of that nature. And I think it's just like kind of thrown around as like, oh, it's only people that have been to war, people that have been through XYZ. And it's like, no, I personally think everybody's dealt with it on some level, whether that's emotional trauma, mental, physical, financial, sexual, any of those. We've all dealt with one of those on some level, whether that was from like a bad breakup to like, the loss of like no longer being friends with someone or the death of a loved one, things of that nature. So, when I pick up things from past, it really helps address and like assess, all those traumas that have kind of been sitting in the subconscious for so long. And then as I'm picking these things up and connecting why the messages are coming through and how it's connected to what blockages my client has in their chakras, which for the listeners, if you guys aren't familiar with the chakras, everybody has 7 chakras. And they're in different parts of the body, and these can become blocked through certain traumas and things of that nature. And if they become blocked and we don't release or remove those blockages, they can manifest themselves as disease in the body. So if you look at the word disease, it's broken up into dis-ease. So what I do during my readings is I pick up so much stuff from past, and then I connect it to like how and why it ended up causing these blockages and how we're going to remove them and work from there. So it's kind of like reverse engineering it a little bit, if that makes sense. But that's how it helps people find clarity and peace and purpose, because it's like we're removing all that stuff that was blocking them from fully thriving and stepping into their purpose. So it really helps them become in alignment, find their purpose, and help them find clarity and peace, because then they're like, oh, wow, like I literally didn't even realize I had that like in my subconscious there for years. I feel so much clearer now, and I have so much more clarity and peace now. So yeah, I mean, that's really how it helps them in that sense. And I think it's really cool and really refreshing to see them just be able to find so much clarity and peace. It's, I don't know, it's really amazing, I think. So
that makes so much sense. And I say this to people that come on the show all the time, is that a lot of people that I've talked to that are healing kind of diminish their own trauma and say, oh, so-and-so has been through so much worse. Mine doesn't really count. And I myself, like, I went through my entire life thinking that way, like, oh, others have it worse. I'm fine. Brush it under the rug. And now I've been, like, actively working on my healing through not just like the talk tip therapy, I'm doing the talk therapy, the EMDR. I went to a couple of TAP classes, emotional freedom technique, the meditation, the spiritual part. It's such a like full round. You need all of it when you're healing to bring this up and release it. So I could definitely see how speaking with a clairvoyant and going to your own path can help with that healing. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really cool. And and EFT tapping does help a lot as well, like you were saying. EMDR, I don't believe I've ever tried that, but I have done EFT, and I know that's very, very, very beneficial. It's amazing. So I'm all for that.
Mm-hmm. Anything I left out?
No, I mean, I don't believe so, but thank you for having me on here. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad that you allowed me and gave me the space to share my story. I think the more that I can share my story, it helps empower other people to share their stories as well. And for the listeners, if you're going through a tough time right now, I think the most important thing to know is to just keep pushing forward and to know that better days are ahead. And I know it sounds so cliche and kind of cheesy in a sense a little bit maybe, but it's so true. Like, just believe in yourself even if nobody else believes in you. Like, when I was going through my stuff, I had absolutely no support. My family didn't believe me. They thought I was crazy, and so did my friends, and I had no support from anyone, but I just kept picking myself back up every day, and I kept going and kept going and kept going, even when it felt like I could no longer even mentally go. I think the most important thing is for the listeners, anybody who's going through a really tough time, is to just keep showing up for yourself. And then the more that you can show up for yourself, the more other people will show up for you. And it'll all just kind of work out in the end, because the universe always has your back and will always guide you in the right direction. So I hope that made sense.
Yeah, Kelsey, thank you so much for coming on. And I'm very happy to hear that you have healed from all this toxic crap that found you and sharing your story with us. Kelsey, how can people find you? Instagram, website?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Kelsey Crystal _. It's KELSEY Crystal CRYSTAL _. So Kelsey Crystal _. And then my website is just www.kelseycrystal.com. So yeah, that's that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelsey.
All right, thank you. I really appreciate it. Goodbye.
Of course.
Thanks again to Kelsey for coming on Hey Heart 143, and thank you guys for spending some time with us today. If you feel inclined to do so, please head over to iTunes, give this show a rating and a review. The more ratings and reviews that Hey Heart 143 gets, the more people can find this show and enjoy the episodes. 143 means I love you. Tell your own heart.